Good morning, it's Lianne, Phillipson nutritionist, coming to you from Sprout Right Central. Thanks so much for joining me this morning. I wanted to talk about holiday baking. So the whole season is upon us at the moment, and whether you're making, whether you're buying, there's lots of cookies and sweet treats and holiday home baking going on in my family. When I was growing up as a child, I think my mom used to make, I don't know, like 10 different types of cookies, and they would come out in force at the beginning of the year, and then over the Christmas period, we just pigged out. There was one in particular that I absolutely loved, and I have actually started making with my daughters, and it is almond squares. So it's made with marzipan, which I love, and that is definitely one that we continue to make. That is chock full of flour, so full on gluten. There's also tons of sugar in there as well. So it definitely is one that we make, and I have not dabbled with any substitutions, because that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, is how to take all of your baking and is it possible to make it any healthier? Is there any point, or do you just say over the Christmas period, like, screw it, I'm just gonna go for it and deal with it in January? Well, I actually just did a segment on recently on CP24 about flu and how to avoid all of that. And because the statistics have come out about the flu shot, which is obviously a very popular thing at this time of year, because Australia is ahead of us. I believe it was abc.com that wrote an article about this if you want to look for more information. And they said that really this flu shot this year only has 10% effectiveness. So what I was talking about on CP24 is how on earth do I navigate this, this season and try and stay healthy? Well, definitely reducing the amount of sugar that's going on in anyone's diet is my number one way of trying to beat any colds, flus, all that stuff that comes at us. Because, well, actually, no, the number one way, first of all, which I talked about with Stephanie Smythe on CP24, was washing your hands. And maybe not shaking hands with everybody that you happen to meet, maybe doing a quick fist pump, something like that instead, so that you're acknowledging that I'm meeting someone for the first time, but say, I just don't want to get sick. So if we could just not all of a sudden do a whole bunch of handshakes and stuff like that. Some people, unless they're actually sniveling and dribbling, then giving them a quick hug is actually a less intrusive way of picking up on everyone's bacteria. So just in case you haven't come across a lot of the other sweeteners that you could use in your baking, then there is an opportunity to use honey, for instance. You can also use molasses. It's going to give a very different taste and flavor to what you're offering, but maybe instead of fancy molasses in your gingerbread, you use blackstrap molasses, because it's actually a lot higher in iron. It's a really, really nutrient-packed sweetener. Obviously, it's when they make sugar, when they make the white stuff right here, then they partition and they take off all of the molasses stuff that goes one way and the white stuff goes the other way. So it's actually all of the good stuff that's left over from the sugar process in the sugar mills. But one of the newer ones on the block is raw coconut sugar. So I have used this before in the past at a time when my daughters were having issues with sugar, yeasty kind of stuff, which they sadly picked up from me during birth, and it still had the same effect on their yeast, which wasn't so great. So don't think that just because you're using this, which may have more nutrients and it's a different way of doing things, doesn't mean that you're not going to get the same effects. I don't know how this works on the immune system, for instance. So it's definitely something to, just something to watch out for when it comes time to using some sort of sweetener or something like that. Brown rice syrup is another great sweetener that you can use. In my book, over my shoulder here, in my book Sprout Right, that's pretty much what I use as a sweetener. Sometimes there's a bit of agave throughout, although I don't really use that personally so much anymore because it's so high in fructose. But brown rice syrup is absolutely fantastic, and you can also use agave if you want. It has a slightly lower burn point, so things go brown quicker, especially when you use it in baking. So you can check that out. I'm going to post a blog underneath here as well, where I've written out all of the, I'm not going to go through all the numbers on this Facebook Live because you'll be scrolling down really quickly. but the amount of honey that you need to use for 1 cup of sugar, how do you swap that out? And if you're a great baker, which is not my forte, I will definitely say that I'm someone who cooks more than I bake. I leave that actually to my daughter. She's a great baker, and she's got that from her grandmother. She absolutely adores baking, actually from both sides of her family. They're all amazing bakers. So I just decide that I'm going to leave it to her and all that kind of stuff. So on the blog is all the substitutions that you can find to change it up for yourself. But in my book, I do have 2 fabulous recipes. I'm a huge fan of shortbread, and especially Christmas time shortbread. It just seems to be a bit different. I don't really know why. But there's the sinless chocolate brownies are in there, and that's also on this blog post that I'll post below. Which are just amazing, and they're so fun to make. The kids absolutely love them. You can put little bits of candy cane, mash them up, and put little bits of candy cane onto the brownies to make it a little bit more minty, if you like a chocolate mint kind of thing. And then also there's like a shortbread-esque, gluten-free. Just has a lot of butter in it, which you can do goat's butter if you like, or that can be another place where you just say, that's okay, I'm just going to use butter this time, and I'm not going to worry so much about it. So there are a lot of different recipes out there. So I do encourage you to try other things. And like I said, check out this blog post for the substitutions that you can make. So maybe you're using maple syrup one time. It's going to change the flavor just a little bit. So be aware of that. And then honey, not so much of a change in flavor. And then also you can try a gluten-free flour. There's so many different gluten-free flours out there now that sometimes if you've got someone who's coming who is celiac, and they need to, they obviously want to make something for them that's safe, then you can try a gluten-free flour with your favorite cookie that you tend to make over the Christmas holiday, because there is definitely something about tradition where you want to keep on making those things. Since my mom passed away about 1.5 years ago, if that's when it is, it's almost 2 years, I guess now. There are certain recipes of hers that she used to make over the Christmas period that I want to pass down to my kids, and those are the ones that have full-on sugar and full-on wheat and all of those kind of things in there. So, but then the tradition part of it is also really important to kind of keep going, and then make some new traditions in your family that are slightly healthier versions. So maybe you have the sinless chocolate brownies from my book. That becomes a new tradition that's a sort of a healthier balance where you're taking, yes, all of the butter-laden, sugar-laden treats, and then you're also adding in something that's a little bit healthier so that you're finding that balance. I'll also post one of my favorite things to make over the Christmas period, which is, and I don't make them, but it is a beautiful thing to make, to take to someone's home. It's a profiterole tower. I haven't purchased any yet because as soon as I purchase them, my kids go and start to nab them out of the freezer and eat them frozen, because it's a bit like having ice cream, because there's cream on the inside of these beautiful little pastries that are round like this. And then you just make this huge tree of profiteroles with a homemade chocolate sauce. And it is a beautiful thing to take to someone's home. And, as sort of a centerpiece, or I'll bring dessert, and then you walk in with this absolutely stunning tree of profiteroles with a little something on top. And we put raspberries to make it look like little ornaments or something like that, or cranberries, and then get out the icing sugar and put a little dusting, making it look just beautiful. So while being healthy, there is also those things that can be done, which just makes the whole season seem, I don't know, more seasonal, if that's the right way to say it. I don't even know. But there are those really fun things to be able to do, and just try and find a balance between staying healthy and also, doing things like enjoying your eggnog. Eggnog, for instance, is something that I introduced to my kids. It's something that my mom introduced to us when we were younger. I don't like nutmeg, so we never put anything like that in it. But not that it's not sugar laden, but Rolling Meadow have just brought out one of an eggnog, which is from grass-fed dairy, so that's fantastic. Then you can also get coconut milk or soy milk eggnog, all these other kind of, and then you've just got your traditional very thick eggnog that you have as well. As long as everything is done in moderation and you're not completely going over the top with everything, then really I think you're navigating the holidays really well. So please do put in your comments below. I always love hearing from you. Sometimes when I'm recording this on the Facebook Live, depending on what screen I seem to get myself in somehow when I'm recording this myself, I don't always see your comments. So if you've been commenting, I will absolutely get back to you with everything that I've talked about or answer your questions and as they come in live, because I haven't seen anything come up just yet. So I'll make sure that I check back and see if there are any comments, and I'll answer those for you. But maybe you could share one of your healthiest recipes for everyone else to have a look at and see. This is another something that we can all try. If someone has the best shortbread recipe, I personally would love to see it, with or without sugar, gluten, or all of those kind of things, because I do love shortbread. That's probably my favorite cookie, if there was one, would definitely be shortbread. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to hearing about your escapades with all of your sweets and sugars and all of those kind of things, and talk about a little bit more about how to navigate your way around them. So thanks so much for joining me today, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks. All right. And also next week on LiannePhillipson.com, I'm going to be talking a little bit about, is there a possibility that there's a better boozy drink to have? Is there a better wine that you need to be looking for? Is there a better spirit that's not going to give you a hangover or put on extra pounds? So if you're interested in that topic, then you can check out LiannePhillipson.com next week. I believe that's going to be at 8:30 in the evening. All right. Take good care. Happy holidays.